Hi everyone, and welcome back to another EU4 video. Today, we're going to be doing a guide for the nation of Naples in EU4 1.34. And before this video begins, don't forget to leave a like on the video and consider subscribing to the channel as it helps out immensely. And now, let's jump into Naples. Naples is a nation located in the south of Italy. We are in a very unique situation in the Italian peninsula compared to the other Italian nations, as we actually start as a junior partner under Aragon. However, don't let this awkward starting situation dissuade you from Naples' power. Naples is actually quite a powerful nation and is one of the most popular tags in Italy to form the nation of Italy. Naples starts out with these great national ideas here, Neapolitan ideas, with plus 10% goods produced, very powerful, minus 5% tech costs, also very nice, minus 10% dev cost, so it is actually quite easy to play tall as Naples, and that's one of the most popular ways to play them. Plus 10% morale of armies, so you can have very powerful armies, minus 10% ship cost, very nice here, plus 1 yearly prestige, and some extra legitimacy. Overall, this is the only mid-national idea. The rest are absolutely amazing, and for your traditions, you get plus 10% trade efficiency, plus 10% institution spread, very nice. And for your ambition, plus 20% national manpower, which is huge. As Naples, you shouldn't be dissuaded from playing them just because you start as a junior partner under Aragon. Aragon does get an event to let us go within the first 5 years of the game, so you really won't have to wait that long to begin your conquests. And now the first thing you should do as Naples is go into your states and give the clergy religious diplomats, religious state, and we won't be giving out the clerical advisory council until we stab up to stab 1. For the nobility, supremacy over the crown, increase levies, supremacy of the nobility, and we will give out aristocratic councillors again after we stab up to stab 1. For the burghers, you should give out private trade fleets, patronage of the arts, land of commerce, and indebted to the burghers. And don't forget to summon the diet, choose whichever agenda is best for you. I'm going to go ahead and take this one, and don't forget to seize land. For your advisors, you should get whichever level 1 admin advisor you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and take this stab cost guy. For your diplo advisors, ideally either an improved relations or a diplo rep is ideal. I'm going to go ahead and take this diplo rep woman. And for your military advisors, take whichever one is available. Ideally, you'd want either a morale of armies or a discipline. We don't have those, so I'm just going to take this land maintenance guy. As Naples, you do start off with 3 diplomats. So for your diplomatic setup, go ahead and set a diplomat to improve relations with Austria. Like most strategies in Italy, as Naples, you want to join the HRE. The reason you want to join the HRE is because these northern Italian nations up here, such as Siena, Florence, Lucca, Milan, etc., all of these people that we're going to be wanting to attack are in the Holy Roman Empire. So send 1 diplomat to improve with Austria, send 1 diplomat to improve with the Pope, and send a diplomat here to spy on Siena. Siena is going to be our first target. And while you have your diplomats improving with Austria and the Pope and spying on Siena, don't forget to check what your force limit is here. Our force limit is 14, so we're just going to go ahead and build up to our force limit. And check out your navy here. Send your 2 existing light ships to protect trade in Genoa and go home during war. And build up some more light ships up to 5, and then build some more galleys. Up to 10 galleys should be enough. And now, once you have your armies being built and your navy, it's time to chill, bring down your army maintenance, mothball all your forts, and wait for Aragon to release. And here we have the event, the Neapolitan succession. Basically, once Aragon's starting ruler dies and you get the new king, Aragon will get an event to either let Naples go or keep them. If in the very rare case that Aragon just decides to keep you, just restart, as it's only been a few years since the game began. And here we have 2 options. Both of these make you independent. However, this one here at the top basically gives you independence, but it makes the Papal States very upset. This bottom one here makes you lose legitimacy and quite a bit of money. However, it means that the papacy won't be unfriendly with you. I recommend taking the second option, His Holiness shall receive what is due. Don't worry about losing all of that legitimacy and having low legitimacy from selecting that event. The first mission here in Naples, Independent Naples, gives you a bunch of legitimacy and claims on the Tuscany area. For your starting allies as Naples, I recommend allying Austria and improve with the French. Playing in Italy, we have the very uniquely Italian ability to ally both Austria and France at the same time. So go ahead and send a diplomat to improve with France. And if you haven't reached that threshold, keep improving with the Austrians so you can ally them and join the HRE. Another ally that you should be aiming for is the Pope, as the Pope will not only assist you with wars in Italy, allying them will also allow you to have a positive opinion of you and will prevent you from being excommunicated. And another ally that you should aim for in Italy is one of these northern Italian nations. See which ones will ally you. As you can see, check between Milan, Savoy, or Venice. Usually you're not able to ally Venice, as Venice usually doesn't like the Pope, or the Pope doesn't usually like Venice, so go ahead and select Milan. For your starting rivals as Naples, see who is available. Go ahead and make sure you rival Aragon, Tunis, and whoever else is here. Do not rival the Pope, as you want to remain friendly with the Pope throughout most of your game, especially if you're remaining Catholic. After improving relations with Austria up to the threshold that is needed, go ahead and join the HRE. As I stated before, the reason we want to join the HRE is the people that we want to attack here, namely the people that we get claims on in our mission tree at first here in Tuscany, are all located in the Holy Roman Empire, so that's why we joined the Empire. So make sure, as soon as you are independent, improve with Austria, ally them if you can, and make sure you join the HRE. And now it's time to get ready for our first war. For your first war as Naples, it is either going to be one of these two nations, Aragon or Siena. See whichever one is the easiest to fight. In my case, it's Siena, since they're only allied to Bologna. Aragon also does not have some very strong allies, they just have Bohemia. However, in my case, it's Siena who's the easier one to fight. However, if Siena is for some reason allied to someone big, see who Aragon is allied to. However, no matter who you are attacking, your first war should be against either Aragon or Siena. And now that our armies are ready, we're going to go ahead and attack Siena. And after finishing that war against either Siena or Aragon for your first war, it's time to chill for a few months and pick to see who our next target is going to be. Look at these alliance networks here in Tuscany, which you have claims on, and see who is allied to who. As you can see here, in my case, Florence is allied with Bohemia and Ferrara. I can't fight that just yet, so I'm not going to go ahead and attack them. Here, Lucca is allied to Genoa and Ferrara, which is a little bit easier. However, if you look here, Milan will actually join in with the Promise of Land. And also look at Aragon and see who Aragon is allied to. Aragon is only allied to one person. However, Bohemia is quite powerful. I'm going to wait until someone else will join to help me. After improving with France, you should be able to ally them. Like I said, playing in Italy, you have the very unique ability to ally and royal marry both France and Austria at the same time. If in your game you have an instance where one of them, either France or Austria, is threatening to break their alliance with you because you're allied to the other, prioritize Austria over France. Don't sacrifice the Austrian alliance, as we need the Austrian alliance to not only stay in the Holy Roman Empire once the Shadow Kingdom event happens, and to receive their help to fight any potential big enemies that we might encounter here in Italy or in the Balkans. If you are allied to France, especially in this part of the game, you'll probably get called into the 100 Years' War. Go ahead and accept the call. Don't worry, you don't have to do anything, and the English won't touch you. Something unique here has actually happened. Genoa is also allied to France, and now I can actually attack Lucca because Genoa won't help out since we are allied together and we're actually fighting in the same war, that war being the 100 Years' War. So look for opportunities like this. Since Genoa won't join for my second war, I'm going to go ahead and attack Lucca. Don't forget, once you've stabbed up to stab 1 or stab 2 in my case, I got a stability event, make sure that you give out these advisor discounts. Clergy, give out Clerical Advisory Council. For the nobility, give out Aristocratic Counselors. For the burghers, give out Commercial Advisory Board. And if, like me, for your second war, you were fighting Lucca, just go ahead and fully annex them. Take all of their money. That's it. After you take a few provinces in Italy, your aggressive expansion is going to start to tick up slightly, so what you can go ahead and do to counter that is rearrange your merchants here, recall your merchant from Alexandria where they normally start, and send them to collect in Genoa. That won't make you the most money, however, what this will do is if you send your merchants to established communities, this will passively improve with other people in the Italian peninsula, which will make aggressive expansion go away a lot quicker. And by this point in the game, the Renaissance should have spawned. If you're lucky, the Renaissance will spawn in Napoli. Unfortunately, in my game, I was not lucky and it spawned in Mantua. So sad. One thing that you should do once Renaissance has spawned is go to your capital and dev it up to 30 development. The reason we want to do that is so we can tick off the age objective here, own a large city, and so we can get the Renaissance spreading. Now, we chilled for a few years. It is time for your third war. You want to fight Aragon as soon as possible, as Castile will likely make them a junior partner very soon, since the Iberian Wedding usually fires pretty early in the game. So go ahead and try to attack Aragon as soon as possible. In my case, they are my third war. They might be your first war. However, no matter the case, when you fight them, whether it's earlier or whether it's later, make sure you fight them for the reconquest of your cores here in Sicily. So I'm going to go ahead and fight Aragon for the reconquest of Messina and call in both Milan and the Pope to help me out. For your Tier 2 government reform as Naples, I recommend taking Strength and Noble Privileges for the extra manpower. And for your peace deal against Aragon, it depends how much war score you have. Ideally, you would want to take all of Sicily, of course, and into Sardinia. However, we don't have enough war score for that, and dragging on this war for even longer is just not going to be worth it, as you'll keep taking out more and more loans. So ideally, you'd want to have a peace deal like this. However, in my game, I'm not able to take that. So regardless of what you're able to take in your game, just make sure that you take all of Sicily and Malta, as we need that for our mission here, for Unite the Two Sicilies. So your peace deal against Aragon should look something like this. And now, after conquering Sicily in that peace deal, like I told you, we can take the mission Unite the Two Sicilies. This gives us some prestige and claims on these areas here in Greece. Now, depending on what happened in your game, these areas here in Greece that you have claims on could still be owned by Byzantium if Byzantium exists. Unfortunately, in our game, they were conquered very early by the Ottomans. Sometimes Epirus and stuff is still alive here and might have these. However, in our case, it's actually Venice who holds some of these. So in your game, if there is Byzantium or Epirus or someone like that here, go ahead and attack them if you can for these claims and vassalize them so you can reconquer their cores. And after being allied to the Pope and having 2 cardinals, you can go ahead and take this mission, Roman Relations. It gives you some papal influence and improves your relations with the Pope. And by this point in the game, you should have gotten the Shadow Kingdom event. This is basically the event where Austria is forced to choose whether they want to reign in the Italians or let Italy go and leave the empire. Now, you can do whatever you want here in this instance. If there are other people in Italy who stay, so sometimes if Siena is independent, they'll stay, especially if they become a free city. Sometimes Florence will stay if they allied the emperor. Sometimes some other nations here will stay. In my game, no one has stayed. We're the only one left in it, as you can see. However, since I am allied to Austria, and as long as I'll remain their ally, I'm going to go ahead and select our country is a natural part of the empire. You won't suffer any of these penalties as long as you are allied to the emperor. For your first idea group as Naples, I recommend taking quantity ideas. Now, we really don't need quantity ideas as Naples. It's not really necessary, especially for the manpower. As you can see, we really haven't been struggling for manpower. However, the reason you want to take quantity as Naples is not really because of the struggle for manpower, but actually because of the policy. After quantity, we're going to take trade ideas, which if you look here, trade ideas actually gives you plus 20% goods produced, which is absolutely massive. So for your first idea group as Naples, take quantity ideas. By this point in the game, your alliance network should look a little something like this. Be allied to Austria, and if the Shadow Kingdom event has already fired, stay in the Empire as long as you are allied to Austria. Be allied to France, and ally someone else here in Italy, ideally the Pope, maybe someone here in the north like Milan. As you can see, I actually allied Burgundy. Burgundy was able to be allied, and I sent them a royal marriage in the hopes that I might get the Burgundian inheritance. So we'll see what happens. Charles actually got an heir, but sometimes this doesn't work. But I sent them a royal marriage just in case. And now that some time has passed, it is time to declare your next war. Look at the alliance networks here, see who you can declare on. Sometimes Pisa is here, but oftentimes they get eaten up by Florence. I actually got this claim, not for my mission tree, but because I was spying on Ferrara, just to see what I could do with these alliance networks. In my case, the only nation that I can really declare on that I have claims on is Florence. Now, here, as you can see, Florence actually lost their alliance with Aragon because Aragon became a junior partner under Castile, which happens pretty frequently and pretty early. So I'm going to go ahead and declare on Florence, call the Austrians in. In my case, Florence is actually allied to Bohemia, which is quite a strong ally. So make sure that you maintain your alliance with Austria as, like in this case, they can help out immensely when fighting in Italy. For your peace deal against Florence, I recommend taking something like this. Take the province of Pisa and Arezzo. Sometimes you are able to attack Florence earlier in the game. Oftentimes you are able to attack them earlier. However, in my game, Florence was allied to some very powerful people like Aragon and Bohemia. I actually made them break, or I made Bohemia break their alliance with Florence in the peace deal up there. So I was only able to attack them a little bit later than I would have liked. So for the peace deal, I'm just going to go ahead and take these two provinces. Remember, by this point, you really only need to conquer Tuscany here in order to complete your mission tree. As you can see here, we need to conquer all of Tuscany, all of Florence to complete this mission. So this is very important. So go ahead and just take a peace deal, something like this. Don't fully annex them, as that'll be way too much aggressive expansion too early. Just take these two provinces here, no money, no war reps, as we want to fight them as soon as possible. And after you've built 5 churches in Naples, you can complete this mission called Renaissance City. This gives you an option here, as you can see, basically to choose either an Age of Culture or an Age of Glory. The Age of Culture gives some prestige, some gov reform progress, and some advisor costs, whereas the Age of Glory gives some legitimacy, some gov reform progress, and some idea costs. It's up to you really what you want to take. Either of these are really good. However, since we're already stacking the advisor discounts here with the privileges, as you can see, I'm going to take Age of Culture. And after taking that mission, Renaissance City, you can take this next mission called Develop Naples. And by this point, you should have reached your Tier 3 government reform. As Naples, I recommend you take Expanded Royal Court. So for my next war, I'm going to attack Bologna. You might be attacking Bologna, you might be attacking someone else, but regardless, your realm should look a little bit something like this by this point in the game. So, go ahead and attack Bologna. If, like in my game, Venice is for some reason allied to someone big, as is quite often the case, they'll usually ally at least one big person. In my case, they allied Castile. Make sure that you break Venice's alliance with whoever that is. In my case, it's Castile, so I'm just going to go ahead and make them break their alliance and take all of their money. I just wanted to show you this peace deal so you knew what to do. And for the peace deal with Bologna, of course, we're going to go ahead and fully annex them. It's not a lot of aggressive expansion since Bologna is not highly developed. And along with Bologna, we want to keep working on all of our claims here. So that's going to be the peace deal, slowly but surely chipping away in northern Italy. And after you fought a few wars, make sure you use this time to build some buildings, maybe build some production buildings. Look to see here, always build production buildings in high value trade goods. In my case, I'm looking to see what can give me the most money. And here, as you can see, I'm going to build a production building in Naples. For your first age ability as Naples, of course, I recommend you take Justified Wars. During this time, while you're waiting for your aggressive expansion tick down and while you're just building up your nation, make sure you use any spare points, like I have Diplo points, and use them to invest into high-value trade goods. So I'm going to invest into this paper, and of course into these gems. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I actually got faceting to spawn in Siena. Oh, and I didn't start this war against Brittany, the French called me in. And by this point, once you build at least 20 galleys, you can complete the mission Neapolitan Navy. This mission gives you claims on all the provinces here in the Middle East and the ones here in Corsica and Sardinia and also on Ibiza. So, like in my game, if you were able to royal marry Burgundy, you might be eligible for the Burgundian inheritance. Well, I just got it. Yeah, this is just a little bit of luck. If Burgundy doesn't rival you, which they usually don't, although sometimes they will, depending on who you ally, go ahead and try to royal marry them. You're not guaranteed to get the Burgundian inheritance, but you can at least try. So I'm just very lucky in my game. This probably won't happen in your game, since it's very rare. Usually they might choose Austria or France or someone bigger. However, if you see an opportunity to royal marry Burgundy for the Burgundian inheritance, always try, because who knows, you might just get it, like me. If, like me, you face a situation where France is going to break their alliance with you, like I said in the beginning of the video, go ahead and break their alliance. In my case, they are breaking it way sooner than they normally do, just because, again, I got the Burgundian inheritance, which normally won't happen in most Italian games, but I just got lucky. Whether they're breaking their alliance because you have something that they want or because they're allied to Austria, always pick Austria over France, as Austria will be a lot more helpful than France will. For your second idea group as Naples, I recommend taking trade ideas. The reason you want to take trade ideas is, number one, it'll make us a lot of money just because we are in a very good trade node, that being the Genoese trade node, and number two, because it will make us even more money combining it with our military idea, that being quantity. As you can see here, there is the Policy to Production Quota Act, which gives plus 20% goods produced when you combine trade with quantity. This will make you so much money. So, for your second idea group as Naples, I recommend taking trade ideas. If in not just our Neapolitan game, but in really any game, if you get the Burgundian inheritance, oftentimes what the Emperor is going to do is demand the lowlands, as you can see here with the Burgundian inheritance. It gives you two options. It basically gives you the option to release the lowlands, so you still keep Burgundy as a personal union. However, it basically releases all these little Dutch minors here, releases Flanders, it releases Holland, Brabant, all of these little Dutch minors. Or you can say all of Burgundy is ours. Now, this will usually cause Austria to declare war on you. In our case, it almost certainly will. Even though we're allied to them, the AI will calculate they can destroy us. So if you follow this guide to an absolute T and somehow get Burgundy to royal marry you, and then you somehow end up getting the Burgundian inheritance like me, make sure you release the lowlands, as we're going to be far rich enough with just Italy. We don't need these provinces here in the English Channel. We're going to be far richer than they are. So just go ahead and release the lowlands. It's not worth going to war with Austria over it. By this point, if you've been following the guide, Florence should be very small. As you can see here, they're just one province, and I still have claims on them. So go ahead and attack Florence for the conquest of Firenze. And now Florence has unconditionally surrendered. In your game, go ahead and just fully annex them. It really is not too much aggressive expansion, especially you've been waiting and chilling and building buildings like I've instructed you to. You really should not have too much aggressive expansion with the Italian nations anymore. So go ahead and full annex Florence. It's quite a lot of dev, but again, it won't be too much AE because you've been sitting around chilling and building buildings for a few years. And if you remained in the Holy Roman Empire, that means that you, of course, remained a duchy. Now, because you remained a duchy, you are probably going to be struggling with governing capacity like I am. If this is the case in your game, go ahead and give the clergy land rights. This will give some extra governing capacity. Don't really give it to these other estates, as they'll probably have too much influence by that time. So if you're struggling with governing capacity, just give out clergy land rights. And now that you have finished conquering Tuscany, it is now time to turn your attention to other avenues of expansion. As you can see here from completing that mission that we did to build 20 galleys, we got claims on pretty much all of these islands here in the Mediterranean. So go ahead and see who you can declare war on. As you can see here, Corsica is allied to both of my allies. I could probably win this war, but I really don't feel like fighting the Pope right now. So instead, I'm going to see what Aragon has. As you can see in my game, Aragon is actually a junior partner of Castile. That'll likely be the same case in your run, especially by this point in the game. So what you can go ahead and do is see who will join. As you can see, my ally, the Papal States, will join, and it says that Austria won't join. However, it's only -18, so if I just do this and ask Austria to prepare for war, as you can see, now they'll join me. So go ahead and see where you can expand. Oftentimes Corsica will actually be released as a tag, so you might get lucky and you'll just have a random independent Corsica. So if that's the case, of course, go ahead and attack them. In my game, Genoa still holds Corsica, so just go ahead and see where the other avenues of expansion are. I'm going to go ahead and declare a war on Aragon for the conquest of Sasser, calling in both my allies, Austria and the Pope. For your Tier 4 government reform as Naples, I recommend taking Lance for the Church. The reason you want to take Lance for the Church is because you should be saying Catholic your entire campaign, especially if you're allied to the Pope, which means you're going to be using these papal blessings quite often, so go ahead and take, for your Tier 4 government reform, lands for the church. For your second age ability as Naples, I recommend taking improved war taxes. For the peace deal with Aragon, and in our case Aragon and Castile, you should take something like this. Of course, take everything that you have claims on, which is the entire island of Sardinia, as well as take Ibiza, Majorca, and all these islands here. The next thing that you should do is take a couple provinces in Iberia. The reason you want to take a couple provinces in Iberia is because we want to release Catalonia here and the nation of Valencia so we can reconquer their cores into Aragon. So go ahead and take this province up here. It's a fort and you won't have to siege it again. And go ahead and take one of these provinces down here so you can release Valencia. I'm going to go ahead and take Alicante. After conquering at least 25 provinces in Italy, you should be able to take this mission called Victory in the Italian Wars. It basically just gives you some extra mark discipline until the end of the game. And after taking these provinces in Iberia with the peace seal, go ahead and release the two nations. So go ahead and release Valencia in the south and Catalonia in the north. Once you have these two vassals, don't forget to give the nobility the Strong Duchies privilege. After that Castilian War, it's time to chill for a year or two and get ready for our next war in Italy. Oh, and if you break your alliance with France, and you can, go ahead and ally the English. Their army won't be very big, however, their navy can help you out in certain wars, and if you are ever at war with France, they can go ahead and be a good counterweight, as the French will often focus on the English while you siege down their southern provinces. And now it is time to declare our next war in Italy. So, depending on who is here, it might be Mantua, it might be Venice that has these provinces, or might even be Bologna. However, in my case, it is Ferrara that is here. So go ahead and attack Ferrara for the conquest of Modena. In my case, Ferrara is guaranteed by Milan and allied with Savoy, so I'm going to call in Austria to help me out in this war. And for the peace deal with Ferrara, just go ahead and full annex them. Remember, you chilled after fighting the Castilians for a couple of years, so you really won't have too much aggressive expansion with others in Italy. So just go ahead, take something like this, full annex them, take all their money, and go. And by this point in the game, your realm should look a little something like this. You would have eaten up all these original nations here, including Florence, Siena, and Lucca, and just eaten up Ferrara. You also should have fought the nation of Castile and Aragon at least once. You should have fought your former overlord of Aragon and taken back all of the cores that you had. And by this point, you should have also taken at least 2 idea groups. Remember, you should take quantity ideas and trade ideas for your idea groups. For your third idea group, I recommend taking either offensive or quality. Quality is slightly better, as not only does the policy give more trade efficiency, but it also buffs up your army, as you can see here, and gives some more morale of navies. For your fourth idea group, I recommend taking economic ideas, as that'll only make you even richer than you will already be by that point. For your next idea groups, for your 5th and 6th, and your 7th and 8th, it really is up to you. If you even play that far, take whatever ideas best suits your game by that point. As far as other avenues of expansion, as you continue along your game, make sure that you continue to use these cores that your vassals have in Iberia to reconquer into Aragon and eventually into Castile. You should also be using the claims that you get in your mission tree to expand into the Balkans, into the Middle East, and eventually, as your mission tree goes along, into North Africa, into Tunisia, and beyond. Like I said, Naples is a very popular nation for forming Italy. Not only can you form Italy as Naples, you can also form the 2 Sicilies. Once you get to Admin Tech 10, all you really need are the provinces that we took originally and the provinces in Sicily. The nation of 2 Sicilies actually has some very nice national ideas for playing tall and is a very powerful nation. This is what we took for our first 4 government reforms. For Tier 5, I recommend taking meritocratic recruitment for that extra advisor discount. For Tier 6, I recommend taking General States. For Tier 7, if you have taken economic ideas by this point, then go ahead and take this one. If not, then go ahead and take Embrace the Economic Theory. For Tier 8, I recommend taking either this one here for the minus 5 years % of separatism, or if you are going to be blobbing and potentially trying to form the Roman Empire or just a big blobbing Italy, then I recommend taking a social contract. For Tier 9, I recommend taking L'État c'est moi, and for Tier 10, I recommend taking Right to Petition. And this has been a guide for the nation of Naples in EU4 1.34. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like and consider subscribing as it helps out the channel immensely. And let me know in the comments down below what other nations you would like to see me do a guide for. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for another EU4 video.